more people. And then we can get started. We'll probably, I'll moderate. I know we didn't really have a lot of time because I sent the questions so late, but uh, yeah, we'll start with introductions and then get into the questions. So let's go and get started. Thank you everyone for joining us. This is the International AI/ML panel for Live AI Ivy Plus 2025. We're very happy to introduce three amazing speakers who have some great experiences. When we say international, we don't mean necessarily that they're in other countries, although they do have those experiences. What we mean is this is for your time zones. You're in Asia, and yes, it's late for us here in the US, but this is a sacrifice we're willing to make. We're happy to make. And we do this because we do want to reach out across the Pacific. In my case, my cousins are literally over there. And I'm sure a lot of us feel the same way, say, hey, we do want to, we do want to stay connected with the people we know. We also do want to help build up our communities. I didn't exactly grow up in Taipei, but I did go to school there. I have relatives in Shanghai. I at least want to say, all right, even though I'm the only cousin who does anything in tech, I figure at least, I can at least help the communities in some way. So, that's a little bit of what's going on. We're going to go ahead and jump into introductions real quick, and then we'll get into the panel part. So starting off, I'd like to introduce you to Johnny. Johnny, feel free to introduce yourself.
Yeah. Thanks everyone. Thanks for inviting me. This is Gianni, and I'm currently a senior software engineer with a background in AI and machine learning. And before that, I complete my master degree in computer science at Stanford, and I currently work at Meta, where I focus on AI-driven solutions for ranking systems. And previously, I also worked for TikTok. I have been involved in the hackathon community as a judge for different hackathon events, and I also mentoring teams working on AI projects. So my working experience actually gives me some firsthand experience with the AI system, AI industry, from early deep learning stuff to current Gen AI stuff. So I'm very excited to be here today and discuss the challenges and future of AI with you all.
All right, thank you, Johnny. And I do want to mention real quick, when Johnny says she helps out with hackathons and stuff, that's true. She reached out to us, and of course, we're thrilled to have her, and we're very happy that someone of her caliber is willing to help out. But yeah, it was very much when got this application from her to be a judge, and it's like, wait, what? This person wants to wait. This is only our second time doing live AI. Well, we got to say yes, quick. Okay, hey, and then it turned into, hey, how about join us as a speaker? So very thankful to have Johnny. This is the kind of person that I've always wanted to work with, and I thought it was going to take a long time to get to this level, but you know, two
Yeah, thank
editions
you
of
so
live AI
much.
within 11 months, and she's already here. So thank you so much, Johnny.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting.
Absolutely. So then next, Dan Sinawat. Some of you who saw the global welcoming ceremony already met him, but some of you didn't. We do want to give Dan a chance to introduce himself quick.
Hi, everybody. Again, Dan Sinawat here. I'm a founder of AI Connects and also VC Arena. And, we're a big AI consulting firm, but we also host events around the world. And I think earlier, my friend Peter, who's the founder of Super AI and Token 2049, joined in for the opening. And, VC Arena is more on the venture capital side. We partner with a big VC firm called Legendary Ventures out of New York, which is a $2 billion fund. And VC Arena is more focusing on early stage. So if you guys have any question or anything on both sides, VC or AI, I'm here happy to help.
All right. Yeah, and Dan has the scoop on a lot of great international events. Not just international, but since a lot of you are international, if you're talking about, hey, I want to go to a conference in Singapore, well, guess what? Dan knows three of them. So if you're saying, I like Dubai better, Well, great. He knows a couple of them, and obviously Dan being a very proud Thai, he definitely knows stuff in Bangkok. So anytime you want to connect with him about entrepreneurship, venture, conferences, anything like that, definitely hit up Dan. And last, definitely not least, Ben. How you doing?
Thank you, Scotty. Yeah, so Ben Body, I've lived a number of different lives, everything from a school teacher, third grade, to a lawyer, to now running what's called the Texas AI Association, which kind of like Dan is, we're doing a little bit of AI consulting along with just community building and trying to find different ways to really grow these different verticals across different sectors and figure out how do we actually deploy AI in a practical manner where people can actually use it on an everyday level. Been all over, lived all over the United States, studied in NUS down in Singapore, Paris, all over. So, any questions that you have, I've been an entrepreneur, exited out of a $13 million company that I started from zero called Group Excellence, where I did after school math and science tutoring, all the way to working with the Dallas Regional Chamber, working with every single Fortune 500 that's been sort of in the DFW area. So have a great, sort of extent, but you guys got some great people on this panel that, obviously Dan, I know Dan well, and now Jenny. And so these guys seem like they have a great background as well. So I'm glad to be on a panel with such esteemed people.
All right. Yeah, thank you, Ben. So, we're going to jump into some questions. These aren't scary questions, hopefully, but we do want to make sure, a little bit thought-provoking for everyone, stuff to think about. So, let's just go down the line, same order. Throughout your career, how have you seen AI evolve?
Yeah, I will start with my shorter career compared to like Ben then. And actually since I started working in AI and machine learning area, the field actually has evolved tremendously, like in both like technical and also real world applications. I still remember when I was in college, the AI people were talking about computer vision and also natural language processing. But as of today, I think the language part definitely working better than computer vision part. I know there's a lot of talented folks still working on the computer vision part and trying to building spatial intelligence for that. That would be perfect. But yeah, and I after that I when I was doing my master at Stanford, AI was already also a very hot topic, but the area was more focusing on deep learning, breaking throughs, and also other theoretical research. And after that, I joined Meta. My focus shifted to how to build a large scale model where it could be deployed in production level. For example, some success applications in industry for AI and machine learning could be recommendation systems, search, and content understanding. All of these applications was supported by large scale AI and machine learning systems. So this kind of applications actually became some revenue driven part of the whole company. And most recently, as everyone knows and talking about the generative AI becoming the hot topic of the whole area, something like GPT, Cloud, and now DeepSeek has actually become the game changer of the AI and machine learning area. So I would say, yeah, the area definitely changed a lot through my career, and I'm really looking forward to see the next wave of evolution.
All right. That was great. And Dan.
It's hard to beat that, so I don't know. I'm saying like I think most of you guys are very young here, right? I came from way back when it was a deterministic world, right? A lot of AI started in machine learning decades ago, right? We call it AI, but it's not as sexy as today's AI, right? Now it's more probabilistic world with LLM and everything. But then I think, what I'm been doing now, helping the business is try to bridge both world, how to leverage both deterministic and probabilistic AI to make the best solution for the customer. And that's what we are aiming at. I'm not sure you see some of the thing I wrote here, but like one of the key phrases that we are always saying at AI Connects is that AI is 95% business and 5% technical, especially for business, right? It's all about solving the business problem, understanding the objectives, and how do we for like really narrow it down to what is the right result for them. And then once we know that, then the technical part is easy, especially with AI nowadays. We can even use AI to create some more, apps and AI for us as well. So, and that's where we're focusing in from the consulting standpoint.
All right. And Ben.
So since the time that I came on to the Dallas Regional Chamber here, and for you guys that are abroad, Dallas Fort Worth is probably one of the faster growing areas in the United States. It's one of those places where everyone's moving to, a bunch of corporates are moving to. And so my kind of intro to the purview of sort of AI was at the corporate level with big companies trying to figure out what are the benefits of moving to Texas and trying to figure out how to regenerate their companies. So you look at all these companies that are moving here, everyone from Goldman Sachs to JP Morgan Chase. These are humongous companies that have had, epicenters in New York and San Francisco, and they're now moving to Dallas. And so with those moves is coming a major digital transformational shift that's coming with that. And when I was at the chamber, I saw the opportunity to really, jump on that and to really get in there, because there wasn't a lot of people that knew how to integrate AI, to talk to the people that are at the board level or the C-suite level. And that's sort of where my benefit comes from, coming from a legal background, had a number of exits from companies and going to VCs and doing fundraisers, talking to corporates, talking to board members, and seeing the fear really that comes in with trying to not be left behind. And how do you catch up with everyone else that's getting AI integrated? And just kind of like how Dan talked about, Johnny talked about, it's one of those things that's constantly changing. AI, like DeepSeek, that was an atomic bomb in a lot of ways, and how we perceived AI. Everything from energy in Texas, because that's a big thing here in Texas. One of the reasons why we're one of the centers of, Bitcoin and miners here in Texas, and then also with AI and data centers. It was the reason why when Sam Altman shows his first thing of Stargate, he's showing Texas. We have a lot of land, a lot of energy. It's a state that's really positioned in a lot of ways to really capitalize on AI, particularly with the current administration that's in the White House. And that's another thing that really I focus on is the policy aspect. As a former advisor to both the Governor Abbott and to the Lieutenant Governor of the state, the two most powerful people in the state of Texas, I advise them keenly on different areas of policy. What I saw was that there's going to be a whole revamp on what is coming with AI. And so the ability to help lead people through this digital transformation, both from a policy standpoint and an implementation standpoint, I think is a key area in the United States that's really necessary. And both my colleagues and on this panel, I think, trying to do the same thing. So it's something that we all feel like AI right now, it's the wild, wild west. Go back to the 90s, go back to the early 2000s when the internet was starting up. It's the same thing that's happening right now. Digital transformation isn't changed, but it's moving a lot quicker than those other transformations happen. So I think it's a great opportunity. You kind of look at computer science majors, everyone that's going into these other areas, coding is not necessary anymore. Unfortunately, that's gone. And we can do this all with the computer. So it's going to really be keenly on how do we create the next opportunity for the next generation. I don't think there's going to be definitely changes in the job market, but I do think in this next few years, it's going to be a massive opportunity for people to take advantage of what people are looking for, which is the integration of AI into their operations.
All right, great stuff. Yeah, it's just crazy to think about how something unrelated to tech, or seems like it's unrelated, like politics, who got elected, or you know, just what city or state you're in. There's a million things that can really impact what happens and what people do. Um, this is not exactly these aren't not exactly hurdles, but these are things that do happen that there are influences and impacts. I think, something that we should address is what are some of the major hurdles that you think AI is currently struggling to overcome?
Yeah, I might answer this question from more perspective, like from more technical perspective, like based on my understanding of the current AI wave. I think one of the biggest hurdles has been scalability and computational cost. That's why the DeepSeek actually catch everyone's eyes because it's really like computational efficiency. And for example, training large scale AI models actually requires a lot amount of computational resources, GPUs, and only few of the companies and institutions can actually afford that. So over time, optimizations like parameter efficient models and better hardware architecture, better data center architecture will eventually help reduce this barriers. And another thing I would love to mention is the data quality issues. So currently models were highly depend on the high quality data which the model was trained on. So early AI system also struggled with some biased data set, which can lead to some disasters like unfairness or unreliable outcomes. There has been a lot of progress in making those AI models more fair and more reliable, more transparent. But I think this is still an open question and it still requires a lot of efforts on that.
That's great. Maybe I should just go next. I'll just show you a quick slide here that we made at AI Connects, right? I'm sure you already seen this somewhere before, and I think Jaini mentioned exactly right about DeepSeek. I was talking at the UT Dallas today for a closing remark in front of a bunch of fintech and crypto and AI people, and I told them the same. What's DeepSeek gonna do for us? It's just make things cheaper, right? So this year, next year, enterprise adoption will grow quickly because of that. It's not that they can adopt DeepSeek here in the US, but it's the way that DeepSeek do things and make things cheaper and more efficient, help other model become cheaper too, right? I think that's a big thing for us. And the biggest hurdle that was blocking us was the cost. I was talking people at Toyota today. They said exact same thing. To solve that problem, it's gonna cost us this much with all this compute and everything. Is it worth it? Right? A lot of time people don't realize, that's why we approach it from a business angle, right? Once I have my partner at Legendary Ventures, he used to work for J. Crew, big, online and catalog. I don't know you guys like J. Crew, clothing or not, right? But they once did a personalization project that cost them maybe 10 million or 20 million to personalize things to increase about 10%, 20% more sale. And then they show that to the CEO and the VP of sales and marketing. You know what they said from the business side? I could have done that by just giving people a 20% off coupon and email that out. And it doesn't even cost us $100,000 to do that. Why we are spending 10 million, 20 million to do this, right? Most people don't think it that way. People don't understand business and then try to apply technology, right? That's the biggest problem that I think blocking and failing AI projects right now, right? And then another thing is the AI limitation. We wrote this white paper. My CTO wrote this white paper before DeepSeek came out. We already, said it that AI is already hitting limitation. Do you know why it's hitting limitation? The improvement between the last model to the current model was like 0.0 something percent. Do you know why? I'm sure Jai you know why, but it's because we train it on all the information out there in the internet already, right? There's nothing new. It's all like synthetic data now, right? So we are hitting this innovation S curve, as you see on the right-hand side or left-hand side. I can't tell from here. But what is gonna picking things back up again? It's exactly what you're saying. It's the proprietary enterprise data that is gonna make this innovation S curve and gonna give you the competitive advantage, right? Your proprietary data will be your gold mine right now. And that's all with enterprise, right? Because all these enterprise, they never really released their private data before. How they solve problem in retail, in Walmart, right? In American Airline, they never released that into the public. So there's no way that the model will understand how to solve airline problem, how to solve, retail problem like perfectly, right? So I just wanted to quickly highlight that, and then I can share a little bit more about other things later. So
Yeah, I think both the panelists have really talked about something that's really interesting and something that's particularized in its cost. I mean, that's the biggest thing that's really serving as a barrier to a lot of the adoption. And then not only that, from my school teacher background, it's really education. It's understanding the extent of this. I mean, literally tonight I'd met with both a lawyer that is a buddy of mine from law school that was actually a comedian and talking literally about AI. And that meeting that we just had, when I told him about what I can do with avatars and integrating how you can save so much time, he just didn't know. And so I think that's a big thing, is understanding like what the technology can actually do. And then also putting what, both Dan and Jenny talked about, which is, there's safeguards to it. There's an extent of which this technology can go. It's not at the stage of complete replication or complete independence. There definitely is a need for human interaction. I'm sitting in my car here at the Tesla. You can't drive this car completely by itself. I've fallen asleep and driven it between Austin and Dallas when I went to go talk to some lawmakers, but you're going to have humans interact at this point. It hasn't gotten to that point and to that level where you can just completely rely on that technology. And like how Dan was just talking about, once you get that data set or the business or the access to an enterprise, and that's what I'm doing with a number of companies here locally, is how do you actually train these models on what it actually needs to do? You cannot integrate it. Gone are the days when you can just repurpose Chat GPT and sell it to a company. They're not going to use it because it's not going to give the deliverable that they're going to really want. And GPT is moving at a breakneck speed, with avatar operators and agents and all this other things. But the reality of it is you're going to have to create bespoke AI that can actually work with the data that has worked in that organization, understand the workflows, and then create a model that is going to actually deliver what is needed without the error problem. And that's what Dan and both Jenny talked about, is that there's an error that, granted, it's not that big, but we have to overcome it before we actually trust the technology. And until that happens, you have to have a human in place. And I think that's where people can come in, is understanding how these models work, understanding how to manage them, but at the same time, understanding how to train them and find the deficiencies to make them better.
All right. So we do want to leave some time for Q&A, so we're gonna condense there were two more questions I had in mind, but we'll go and condense it. They're pretty related. How do you see AI impacting the future of tech?
Yeah, that's a really good question. That's a huge question. Actually, I feel like AI is definitely influencing the whole tech industry, as well as my daily life as a software engineer. Not only my life during work time, but also my life outside of work time. For example, I personally use those large language model chatbots every day. They actually work as my mentor and even therapist for me. So yeah, let's go back to the work part for the impact on tech industry. I think we could think about the following aspects, like in different aspects. For example, how about the work as a software engineer? As Ben and Dan mentioned, there's the coding is not existing anymore, so less students will choose computer science major in the future. I do agree on that, and actually, there's a lot of AI-powered coding assistants, which is really powerful. So they will continue evolving and making software engineer more efficient in the future and more accessible to non-traditional program. This tools will be more accessible to non-traditional programmers. I personally would not say they could replace human software engineer in short term, but I would say they will definitely work as a partner, work as a collaborator for human software engineers. And also another aspect I want to touch a little bit on is the ethics and regulations. Things there's more and more powerful models coming up, and regulations and governance will play a more and more critical role in regulating how these models could be used. So I feel like ensuring the trust and the safety of those AI models in the future would be a very, very important task for both technology and the policymakers and even the government of the states. So yeah, as the AI becoming more powerful, I do think there's more regulation coming into this area and make AI actually work for humans better future.
Well, to me, I think I just wanted to highlight a few things, right? Like I think future of tech, especially around AI, I think vertical AI will be a very big thing, right? You're gonna have to have more specialized AI. Agent will do specific thing that help you solve problem, right? Even agent and agent debating to get to the right answer, right? I think that's probably, the way everything are heading right now to, because a lot of time you get all these hallucination, right? And then the way to solve that is probably use a few technology like we when we creating our AI architecture, we leverage a lot of ontology engineerings. I'm sure you guys may have heard of that, but it's the methodology that Palantir use. So around here in Dallas, I call myself or our company like a mini Palantir in a way. And the way we do things are very similar, where we build the ontology knowledge base first, then we build the intent, and then machine reasoning on top. And then after that, any agent can be done easily, right? Once you have that right architect in place, even new agent come out, you can adapt to it. And I think, more and more of that way of doing AI would be more important, right? Second, I think the integration of like decentralized AI will be important, like how we emerging of AI and crypto or blockchain. I talk a little bit about that in the opening, right? That I see is going to be a pretty huge thing because a lot of people don't realize AI is a probabilistic model, but crypto is actually a deterministic thing, right? It's a yin and yang in a way, right? When AI is a generative tool, it creates a lot of fake information. On the other hand, crypto actually authenticate things, right? In the Web 2 world, things are, it's hard to authenticate nowadays. AI will create a lot of fake website and a lot of things. Web 3, blockchain, on the other hand, give you more authentication, right? And maybe I'll show you one slide that have the link. I would highly recommend everybody go watch this video. And it was a speech at the Super AI event. So just a second here. Let me just, share my screen because I want to make sure that everybody have this. Um, okay, right here. That's what I was just talking about, right? And you should go look at the Super AI YouTube channel. This one was delivered by Balaji, who was the CTO of Coinbase, right? And he understands both world AI and crypto very well. And I summarized this in 10 key things, but he talked the whole hour about this, and you should listen about that. And then, but at the end, the most important thing is the last one, right? Where everything in AI now is centralized, right? But then crypto and blockchain help decentralize AI development and learning, right? Which we are not there yet, but I think that's a key. We can't leave the power to one group of people to control the AI development, right? Decentralized AI would help us gaining back some of that control. So I just wanted to leave that, for the future of the tech, what I see is going to be important.
I think that's a great sort of thing to piggyback on the next level of sort of where AI is going with blockchain, which is quantum. I just had a meeting with the top researchers here in the DFW area that have one of the two only super pods in the United States. And the big thing that we talked about was quantum computing. So once you start layering blockchain on top of AI, on top of quantum, and you just saw that Microsoft just released a viable chip that can actually be used for quantum computing. The biggest issue is getting those qubits, in a space where they can actually use them. And so I think that's the next level of where you're going to see technology going. And we're way beyond Moore's law in terms of the amount of technology that's compiling itself on one another. We're sort of in a different area that I think humans need to be really cognizant of. What are we going to do about people that need jobs? And I think you go back to the policy aspect of it and you see, where do we have a societal responsibility to ensure in the United States right now? And I was talking to Goldman Sachs, JP Morgan Chase, when they were moving here to DFW. Both of those organizations have more people here than they do in New York, and that's the plan, to have more people here in DFW. And through that process, it's really attrition, letting employees go, getting a regeneration of different type of employees that can invigorate their companies with the next level of generation of technology and foresight. We have a whole generation right now that's in the workforce that's going to need to be retrained. Most people don't understand the fundamentals of LLMs. Most people don't understand the fundamentals of crypto. Most people don't understand the fundamentals of quantum. When you start layering all that stuff and you actually seeing being implemented in society, I think we're going to get it to a whole other level of how we're going to operate as human beings. And I think we need to be cognizant of how that's going to be on top of, the consumerism, everything else. And you put that on top of robotics, which is growing at a breakneck speed, right? You just saw Meta saying that they're going to be doing another, following what Tesla's doing. I got to meet Jeff Cardonis, who just got a $350 million raise in Austin with Aptronic. The humanoids robots are coming. And so we're going to have to rethink what it is to be a human in a lot of ways, but that's not a bad thing. I think that's a great thing to think about, because now we can have humans like my friend right now who just spoke at he's a but he's making he started a law firm a long time. Now we can come to self-actualization. And how is that technology going to impact us? Human beings no longer are going to have to be chasing money. I don't think that people really understand what is coming in the next few years and how society is actually going to seismically change. Money is not going to matter. Jobs are not going to matter. Your skill that you learned in the school is not going to matter. What's going to matter is, how do you interact with all this? What is your creativity? What is your human aspect that you bring? Humans are still beyond technology. And that's what I think people need to really realize. Technology will only go so far. GPTs, you look at LLMs, you look at all these different things that are out there. Humans are still better at creativity. They can still solve math better. There's a whole other layers of levels that humans are better at. And that value has to be prized and integrated into what we're doing. We see that with technologies like Neuralink or other technologies are trying to integrate. We just saw in China that they're 100 times Xing the ability for a human mind to interact with a computer. That is sort of the next level, is how are humans going to interact with technology in a way that is going to bring something that's new and creative. We're now leaning harder, and this is going to be a shift that's going to happen. We have a shift in towards hard technology because the technology seems like it's better than a human. It isn't. The reality of it is, human beings still offer something that you cannot find in what computers can create. Everything from music, art, the creativity aspect. And that's the part that technical people don't see a lot of times because they're focused on a technical problem. But the human aspect, I mean, you think about listening to a Taylor Swift song. You think about listening to songs that make you cry and laugh, or the conversations that you have with your friends, or the time over time. I haven't seen my friend in probably 6 or 7 years, and I got to see him at a comedy set. He's actually a comedian, a YouTuber, trying to go from law to another world. That, to me, when you see a human being going through those iterations, you're really seeing a human being hit their top potential, hit what they are. And I think that's not going to be the case for just people like my friend who have made a lot of money in law, became lawyers, started law firms. I think this is going to be the case for every human being. When I was a third grade school teacher, the biggest thing that I saw with my 9-year-olds and 7-year-olds was the potential of human beings. The potential of human beings is astronomical. Our systems, on the other hand, quash that potentiality that they have to grow into who they are. And so what I see is human beings are always going to be worked. They're always going to be the superior thing to technology. But how do we properly integrate it and we value humans? Because that's going to be a big thing that we're going to have to come to it. Because, I don't have kids. I'm 43. I don't have children. A lot of people my age don't have children. I don't plan on having children. And that's going to be a reality. You look at China's, growth. You look at countries that don't have a upward growth modality, United States even, it's all immigration. And so when you have those things stop, you're going to have the lack of people that are actually going to be not only consumers, but creators. I mean, that's the big thing that actually people bring to society is the creativity, the mindset. And that's where I think people are going to have to focus on. Gone are the days where you can go sit and say, hey, go be technical, go learn this. The computer can do it all. The computer can do all of that. What the reality is, how do you, and just how Dan and Jenna talked about, how do you mix all these technologies and create something new? We are in a different era, I think, in terms of technology and humanity, and we're just entering that phase, which is really exciting, but it's going to be really bumpy. When Goldman Sachs said that we're going to move there, and JP Morgan, the first thing they told me is they're going to shed jobs and they're not coming back. I'm working with companies right now that are shedding jobs and they purposely are not coming back. And that's digital transformation. Now, the reality of that is the people that are within those companies that are willing to stay and willing to work in there, they're going to have to be retrained in a new way and in a new world. No longer going to sit there and just look at data and Excel sheets. That's all done. That AI and all those things can do that now. The human, that part of the job is gone. And that's a useless part of your life. That's a waste of time in companies. 60 to 80% of these jobs can be done with AI. But the part that cannot be done with AI is the human aspect. And I think that's a critical part to really focus on. The creativity, all this stuff that the schools in the United States in particular quash, which is teaching to a test, teaching to learning rote memory or learning, these are all gone. And all it's going to be transforming into is creativity. How do you look at the world around you and build the tools to solve problems? And not only just solve problems, create something great. Create a new world. We have social media where I go on my Instagram and I laugh. I would never have laughed the way that I laughed if people didn't create some of those memes that are going on or look at society and immediately create something that makes me to laugh. That's a new world. People can say what it is. You're scrolling, you're wasting brain rot, whatever it is. I still laugh and I still am able to communicate with a ton of my friends, all over the world in different time zones, all over the world. And so you look at what has technology done on this rote area from social media to where we are now. Think about where AI, ML, all this stuff, Bitcoin, crypto, all this stuff is going, and it's going where humans are going to take it. And I think that's the most critical part of what we're dealing with, because it's not that humans are irrelevant. It's that those skills and those things that we have been taught for years are now irrelevant. And it's because technology can do it. And I can tell you this, when I was a governor's advisor in the government, you got to think about this. I'm sitting there with the governor of Texas, and I've sit there with a lieutenant governor of Texas. I'm advising them, meaning I'm telling them how to vote. I am literally advising them how to vote on things, how to consider policy. There is no computer that can come in that room and sit there and talk to them. And the level of what I'm doing, make the jokes, make the human connection to where that governor or that lieutenant governor can make a proper decision. Now, they rely on my ability to go to the research. The computer can do all the research. The computer can do all of that. How am I going to deliver it? Where is the human aspect? Where is that human connection? And that is a huge thing that I think people are missing from this whole technology aspect, is people still matter. They're very relevant to how this is. And you're going to continue to see it. And this is corporate America. The United States is built on a, shareholder value system, meaning the purpose of a CEO is to maximize the shareholder value. And that doesn't lead to keeping people in a company if they're not worth it. And they're making cross the line decisions on how they're deciding to cut people. Well, they're going to have to figure out a way to retool those people, because there's no way that they're going to be out there just doing nothing. The human aspect is massively critical to this. And I think it's a massive piece that people need to consider as we consider to go through these digital transformations. When I go into those companies and they get cut, the first thing I go to is SMU, which is a local school, a tier 1 school. I go to UTD and I figure out, how do we retrain these people? Because they need to get back into the system. They are not out on the sidelines. And that's a huge thing. They have something to contribute. Humanity will survive. It will continue to go on, but there will be supplements. You're going to have robots doing the majority of these work, the rote work that you're doing. You're going to have them learn and watch you and do it easier. So we're going to have to rethink what it is to be a human. And this is not just in the United States. This is going to be around the world. You look at the internet and sort of the democratization of information. It's not just going to be the democratization of information. It's going to be the democratization of everything. Like everything that you do, you actually have been doing for years. You see the value that people bring to it. That's going to may have to be revisioned.
Yeah, definitely. I think one thing I learned early on, one of my professors said, humans do creative things slowly, computers do simple things quickly. And that's where it seems like, oh my goodness, these computers are amazing, but it's more they're making lots of calculations. For example, left turn or right turn or go straight. And then they make that decision thousands of times very quickly, and then that's how they can decide, I'm a GPS system. Or I can do a lot of quick math, and then it turns into I'm a calculator and all that. Uh, but then it's like Einstein said, uh, I don't believe there is a limit to the expanse of the universe and human stupidity, and I'm not sure about the first one. And that's kind of a tongue-in-cheek way to say, obviously, there's creative ways to be stupid, but there's also a lot of creative ways to be human. And one great example I heard recently, um, the Pentagon built basically a war robot, and they had the war robot trained with a bunch of Marines and all that for a long time. And they said, "Hey, all right, Marines, what we want you to do is try to get close enough to the robot and touch it." They expected the Marines to act like Marines, move like Marines, and they wanted the robot to be able to say, use your laser and tag each Marine and say, we got you. What they didn't expect is one Marine to start doing cartwheels towards the robot. Another Marine, he just grabbed a box and put it on his head and just ran to the robot. Another Marine, he just, um, I think he didn't even, he did a crab. I can't describe it. I think it's called a crab walk, where it's like you lean back and then you're walking on your hands and your feet with your feet in front of you. He's walking towards the robot, and honestly, the robot can't tell what's going on because it spent all this time watching Marines acting like Marines, and then the Marines decided we're not going to act like Marines. They started doing, stupid stuff that 18, 19-year-olds do. And so, yeah, Ben's a great point. There are creative human ways to overcome technology. And I think it comes down to this, a lot of these technologies are, they're great tools, but in the end, they're tools. Um, for some people, they do become very, very dependent on them for good reasons, for staying alive, or, this is how we run a business, or this is how I stay in touch with certain people. But in the end, these are still tools that, as a whole, we as humans can use these tools how we want. And of course, the question is, can we use it responsibly, effectively? Maybe I'm responsible but ineffective. Maybe I'm irresponsible but effective. Maybe I'm irresponsible and ineffective. So, that's where, as humans, we do need to look at the world as it evolves and say, all right, what can we do to catch up? So we do have time for one quick question and one short answer. Unfortunately, we can't stay around too long. We do have another session coming up. So if everyone, if you have a question, post it in the chat real quick. I will pick a question, and I'm sorry that we can't do this more, but I'll pick a question. Everyone, hopefully your question gets picked. You can get an answer. For now, I guess Johnny, Dan, and Ben, if you can put your LinkedIn into the chat real quick, then everyone can connect with you. We'll also send this out to everyone later. So hopefully everyone enjoyed this talk. Let's get a quick question, quick answer, and then move on to the next panel, and hopefully you
Yeah.
enjoy what's going on.
I just wanted to say something quickly, right? If you see this logo here, AI 75, you know, I didn't get this without having a human connection with Ben. When he was at the chamber, you know, he noticed me, and that's how we got, so there's a lot of human elements still be required in in today's world, right? A lot of relationship. And I just wanted to highlight that what you guys are doing is amazing, right? Not sure you have seen that. I'll just show you quickly that the event that we're gonna do in Singapore is probably part of it, and I just wanted to highlight why this kind of community is so important. First, people ask me what is AI Connects? What is AI community? I tell them AI Connects is we're not selling anything AI. What we sell is human connection, trust, right? And communication, and that's what I think Live AI, Texas AI, and we are here as a community represent, right? And if you guys have a chance, you should definitely we talk a little bit about that. Our Super AI event in Singapore, we had Sam Altman there, Balaji, we got Edward Snowden, everybody was there. But to be able to see them in person, connect with them from a personal level, make a big difference, right? You're not just meeting people virtually. So what you guys are doing now, on site and off site and virtually, it's what I think we need to keep on doing in the world, right? And then it's gonna be more and more important. I had a question from a student today when I was talking, and the parents like, "Hey, what's the right thing I should be studying right now? And what's the right career?" I said, "Hey, the best thing to do right now is whatever you can is to be creative, like what Ben said, right? Even maybe, like we talk about data, it's all synthetic right now. If you can create original contents, become creative person, that will be more valuable in the future, right? To have an original data. The person that actually a technical writer at AWS, do you know how much he made? $1.5 million a year because she can write something original, right? A technical writer make 1.5 million, right? That's how important it is in writing something original, creating something original, create your own music, being creative, right? Think outside of the box, not just coding. And I think, bring it all together. That's the right things that, for all of us, right? And then look outside of things that just you're doing today. One last thing I want to leave that I'm not sure everybody know that next year World Cup is coming to the US, right? That's a huge opportunity. I don't think people realize this is once in a lifetime opportunity for everybody. Vice versa, it's a big business opportunity. I think what you guys are building today, it's great, right, from a technical standpoint. But again, if you look outside the box, be creative, looking at what things are coming around you, you know, I don't think people here actually understand or actually know that the World Cup is coming to the US. I ask most people, 80-90% of the time, they don't even know World Cup is coming to the US, right? The whole world is coming to the US. People don't realize. 100 something nation, 100 something different languages. How can we handle that? Of course we can. AI is going to be the key to handle all those people influx and business growth and business opportunity. This might be an opportunity for you guys to create something for that. Right. I just wanted to highlight those kind of thing is, looking at bigger thing, global thing, like what Scott is doing, all this global community. It helped me to see this. When I talk about this, people look at me differently. They think of like, wow, this guy thinking big, looking at a big thing, global things, right? But it came because I have this global experience. And that I just wanted to leave you with that.
All right, thank you, everyone. So let's go and take one question real quick. Not sure if I'm saying this right. Shankhan Raman, can you talk in more detail about quantum AI and crypto, how they are complementing each other in its future?
Yeah, I think I
I
would,
think, or
yeah, I think I would
Cheyenne,
direct,
yeah,
I
go
would
for it.
directly hand the question over to Dan. I think he will be an expert like on this area.
Hmm.
Dan,
Cool.
do you
Yeah,
want to take
sure.
this question?
Sure. Yeah, yeah. Let me just bring up one slide. I actually have one slide, not on quantum, but I think on crypto and blockchain, right? Here, let me just share again. Well, if you look at this, right, what crypto and blockchain can help AI, and I'm sure quantum is doing the same thing, is helping you democratize AI access, but at the same time, monetize AI data or tokenize and smart contract, making it fair. Whatever you create as an application or as the data that feed into AI, right? Now you can monetize them, right? Not like, before everything on the internet was trained for free. And you see the point I made earlier about Web3, right? Having Web3 come into play and decentralized AI actually help all of us, people that actually create original contents. Like I mentioned earlier, why original content will be more and more important? Because if you actually be able to track your own contents, you know, virtually, right? Now, people that actually monetize your contents before, well, now you get paying for that at least, right? That's what I think is becoming more and more important. And I don't want to make it long. I think the most important thing is like this monetization, having the ownership of your data once again, right? Because now everything is gone, I have no control of my data, right? So Ben, do you have anything you want to add on quantum or anything?
So I think you keep looking at sort of these layers of technology, and I think Dan really hit it on it, and Jen as well, is when you look at sort of these technologies and what it really is going to be. A movie I would recommend you watching is Blade Runner 2049. And so I think the question in that movie is, what is real? What does it mean to be a human? And when you look at sort of everything from these uh, different spoofs of different people that look like people, the question is going to be always, is it a human or not? And that's going to be a continuous question that we're going to face in the future. And the reality of it is, people really do have uniqueness. That is something you are unique. That's the biggest thing that I think people need to realize. And your perspective in your life is very different from everybody else's perspective in life. And like Dan kind of has that global viewpoint. I studied at NUS and Paris and went around the world and went all over Europe and Asia and all that. When you look at the world at different times of your life, there are different times and places and time. You can go back to Paris again. I can go back, now in 2025. It's nowhere near what it was back in 2001 when I went. And so I think when you look at the changes over time, those are impacts of humanity and people and creativity and all these layers of just different things. Same thing in Dallas. I was born and raised here. And to see this place really turn into a quote unquote, the New York City, it's just layers built on layers built on layers. And the same thing in San Francisco and the same thing in LA when I lived there, in New York. And so I think the thing that both my colleagues are saying is, the uniqueness of humanity is something that is never going to leave. Robots can't do that. It's always going to be, what did the humans do to those robots to make it this way? You're going to see this in LA with the Palisades. You're going to see this in Phoenix with different areas where they're going to make these things smart cities. You see this right now currently in Tokyo, where they're created smart cities. These are layers upon layers that are eventually going to become cities. You go down to New York and you see the subway system or any of the things in the catacombs in Paris. Those are layers of society that have been there for years. They're not going away. That's the foundation of where they're built up to. And so when you look at humanity, you look at technology, you look at art, you go back to even like when Plato, Socrates, and Aristotle, right? They thought the pen was going to disrupt the whole world, a pen, right? And then the printing press came for the United States and sort of everyone can disseminate information. These are disruptive times that people thought everything was falling apart. And the same thing is happening now in a faster pace with technology that's going at a breakneck speed. But the reality of it all is, humans will always matter. And that's the biggest thing. You can replace humans to do the useless jobs. That's good. Like that is really good because now that person doesn't have to sit for 8 hours a day and waste their life in front of a computer. They can think with their brain and be creative and actually contribute to society. You go to any of these places in corporate America, most of these people will tell you they don't contribute. They don't contribute to the actual like ethos or the mission of the organization. They're pushing buttons and looking at screens and regurgitating data. That's not what a human was intended to do. We have evolved to this now. We are not made to sit at a desk all day. We're actually made to interact, which is like the opposite way of where society has gone. We're made to connect with other human beings, and then like even with my friend here, just thinking about his comedic rise, like his insertion into comedy, that to me is like, and we were talking about this. This is back in 2007, just like how Dan talked about how he got into the AI 75. Dan was a creative person with how he took pictures. To me, Dan was going out there and highlighting the things in the community. And to me, somebody like that needs to be highlighted in the community. So when his name came up, he was one of the first persons I put into that list because there wasn't other people doing that. That is social media. That is people putting things on the internet. Dan was the only one really doing that on scale in the Dallas-Fort Worth area for AI. And so when you see people like that, you should encourage them, you should support them, you should be a part of them, and you should try to help them because the reality of it is it's not a zero-sum game anymore. It's going to turn into a we all need to rise together because the reality of it is the computers can do everything and it's coming very quickly. The robots are coming very quickly. And so the human has to matter, and that has to be valued.
All right. Thank you, everyone. Very enlightening talk, and there's a lot of ground to cover, but unfortunately, we do need to wrap up this one and move on to the next one. That said, we will post the YouTube link for this on Discord. Also, speakers, thank you. I will send this link to you. So, everyone's going to be able to access this again. I think the main thing is just we want to make sure that anyone who's trying to connect with our speakers, we will post our LinkedIn's later, but right now it is in the chat. I'm going to send all of you to the waiting room and bring in our next speaker for blockchain and do a sound check with him real quick to make sure everything's good, and then we'll bring you back. So I see it's well, it's 12:10 a.m. for me. So whatever hour you are, 10 minutes after, I'd say come back at 15. So Johnny, thank you so much. Dan, Ben's always great catch up with you. It's I'll be back Monday. We'll grab dinner, lunch, whatever. I don't know. We'll chat more because you guys know the stuff I've been talking about. I know the stuff you've been talking about. And hopefully Johnny will be able to, bring you on site one day, or maybe we go out to where you are. So thank you so much for your support. Thank you everyone who has been listening and all your comments, questions. Take a quick 5-minute break, and we will have one more speaker, and then hopefully you can get back to coding. So take it easy, everyone.
Thank you, Scotty.
Thanks.
Thank you, everyone.
Yeah.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye bye.